What's up, Facebook Live? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy, what's today? Monday. Hopefully you're having an amazing Monday. I'm going to see if I can catch this and make sure that it is working correct. I did just start this, but I started on the wrong page. There we go. Live. Awesome. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I'd love to know, number one, where you're tuning in from. Number two, I'd love to know the three things you're grateful for out there. I do see that number ticking up. It is working. Let me check the audio. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Yep, loud and clear. There we go. Oh, there we go. Here comes everybody. So welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Love to know, number one, where you're tuning in from. Number two, love to know the three things you're grateful for. Right down there in the comment section. My beautiful wife has joined. Well, welcome. In case y'all missed it, she just did amazing thought process on Monday meditation. In case you're having a wild, crazy, zany Monday, she gave some great tips over on her page, Amanda Robbins. You might want to go check that out. Now, for everyone else who's just tuning in, Chris from Salt Lake City, welcome. I'll hold this up here so I could talk to you all. Let's see. Welcome, Chris. Now, as you are tuning in, love to know, again, number one, where you're tuning in from. Number two, I'd love to know three things, either three things that you're grateful for or three great things that happen in your day today. Hello, Olivia from Chicago. Welcome. Stuart Allison, thank you for the share, sir. Tosha from Toronto, welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's see. I do see that number ticking up and down, but mostly up. Since it's going up, I believe there's more than three people in here. So if you are watching this, hopefully you're not driving or anything crazy. But if you're watching this, love to know, number one, where you're tuning in from. Number two, I'd love to know three things you are grateful for. Martha from Houston, welcome. Now, the reason I ask what you're grateful for isn't because I like self-happy, fluffy talk. Olivia is grateful for the rain. Very nice. Dimitri, nice to see you. Welcome. The reason I ask what you're grateful for is according to Harvard Science, they figured out that when you can train your brain to scan the world around you and figure out things that are good in it, it actually causes you to build more mental and emotional resilience as well as boost your overall satisfaction with life. Let's see. Tosha says, writing your new book. Grateful for your house and your husband. Congratulations on the new book. What's the title? Always curious. Chris, I'm grateful for my three kids. That's three. That is true. That is true. Martha says, time with family, a great meal, and beautiful weather. Very nice. Chris, one thing that's fascinating about that concept of three, there was a little bit more research done over at Stanford University that found out when you take one specific item you're grateful for, and then you come up with five specific things about that item or person, in this case for the kids, it enhances greatly your experience of gratitude and overall satisfaction with the experience. Pretty unique. Livy says, grateful for my children and my family. Very nice. Kimber, what's up? Welcome back. Nice to see you. Amanda from Indiana. Very nice. Grateful for the rainstorm on its way. Some me time at the gym in a couple hours. Fabulous community time at work today. Very cool. St. Dev, grateful for another day. Marilyn, nice to see you. Grateful for my daughter living in the U.S., where there's endless opportunities. Very nice. And being alive during an age of amazing innovation in tech. Very cool. Dig that. Some people ask why I'm looking down. I'm looking at all your beautiful comments here as they pop through. Georgina, hey, good morning from the Gold Coast, Australia. I'm super duper grateful for my friends at work. For me, even though not there, incredible housemates in this chilly weather. Oh, and you always sharing your knowledge. Well, thank you. Anas, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So as you're just tuning in, I know there's new people coming. I'd love to know, number one, where you're tuning in from. Number two, I'd love to know three things you're grateful for out there in the world today. Amanda, my wife, says, grateful for my amazing husband, my life, love, and health. Very cool. Nas from Morocco, what's up? So today we're talking about self-awareness. I'm going to set this down real quick and just have a chit-chat with you, and then I'll come back to that real quick. Just so you know, we probably will give away another book today. Maybe it's a copy of our book, Live It. Oops, which way? No, that way. There we go. Maybe it's a copy of our book, Live It, or Vevlo. If someone speaks Spanish out there, might want a Spanish copy. We will see about giving a signed version of those away today. But today's topic is self-awareness. And so specifically about this, it's really interesting. My wife and I just got done doing a 2.5 hour planning session of our whole year, meaning we're talking about book projects we're working on. We're talking about an amazing project we're working on with Udemy. Also, an amazing project we're working on, a book possibly, Love and Relationships. We're talking to a few different publishing houses that are very interested in it, so we're considering that factor as well and trying to put a timeline on it. We're also talking about our amazing love and relationship retreat that we're doing in Tulum later this year. We're also talking about filming and traveling. Awesome trip we have planned with my grandparents to Rome and Barcelona for their very first time. So we're excited to take them and show them a little bit of the world, have some fun out there. So with all this going on, we're trying to plot stuff and plan stuff. And what we figured out was this next, I think Friday and Saturday, I blocked out the entire days for specifically organizing and structuring a plan. And there's this test online you can take called Wealth Dynamics, and it's really interesting. It's something we teach inside of our Performance Coach University course. We have Mr. Holy moly, I'm blanking on his name. Roger Hamilton. That's his name. I don't know where that went. So Roger Hamilton comes on. He actually tunes in from over in Asia at his home, and he goes through, I think, an hour and a half, hour and 20 minutes of this training around wealth dynamics, how he came up with it, what's the use, what's the different personality types, how to use it, how to effectively use it with your clients, how to help coach them through it, how to coach them with it, all kinds of really great insights. And so when he went through that, what's interesting is, there's certain personality types. I think there's 8 of them altogether, but I'll tell you about 2 of them here that's really interesting. So the 2 that stood out, or 3 that stood out that are important for this conversation is, number 1, there's one called a creator. And a creator is really simply a personality like Albert Einstein, Walt Disney. It's someone who is always creating new ideas. They're always creating new projects. They're always creating new systems and processes. They're always just creating. So if you're a creator out there, let's see, what's up? Scott, nice to see you. Olivia, nice to see you. Georgina, nice to see you. And so, Gracia from Austin, what's up? Grateful for your dad's teachings, inspiration in my family. Very nice. So if you're a creator out there, and this sounds like you, someone who, you're constantly developing new ideas. You're constantly developing new systems or processes or techniques or styles. You're constantly gathering lots of data and then trying to put it together in your own way and create something with it. If that's your personality, then please, in the comment section, throw down, I'm a creator, or I like to create stuff too. The second personality type we're going to talk about here, which is really important, specifically with this discussion, is being a star. And a star, according to Roger Hamilton, the guy who created the test, is someone who, it's kind of like an Oprah. It's kind of like who else would be a star? My dad would be a star. Oprah would be a star. It's someone who has the ability to walk in the room and they can share something, even via online like this. They can share something, and by the way they share it, the passion, the enthusiasm, the charisma they have naturally shines a bright light on whatever it is they're sharing and illuminates all the good parts of it and the benefits to whoever it is that's observing. So you'd observe it and they would talk about it and you'd be like, wow, I think I need one of those. So that concept of they illuminate things in the world they believe in, and therefore people pay attention. Like Oprah, she teaches some stuff, but for the most part, she illuminates the awesomeness in other people, which causes many people around the world to pay attention to them and go, oh, and all of a sudden want more information from them. So that's her ability. She's not really creating new content, doing the research, and developing new products as much as she does a little, but mostly she's illuminating other people's amazingness, which is causing them to rise and grow. And so a creator could work with a star because the creator would create something and the star would then illuminate it and take it to the world, which is pretty amazing. Now with that concept, there's one other personality type. There's 8 of them altogether. There's one called an accumulator, one called I think it's a trader, where they're constantly bargaining back and forth with stuff. One called a negotiator, a deal maker. There's more of these, but the 3 we're going to focus on is a creator, a star, and then the third one is a supporter. This one's interesting. And as a supporter, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's someone there to support. They're not coming up with new ideas. They're not illuminating them to the world. They're kind of the one helping all the bits and pieces get put together. Now, if if you want to imagine, so if you're either of these three, you might be one of the other 8. That's okay, but we're just going to focus on these 3. So if any of these 3 stand out to you, I'm going to check the comments real quick. Good evening, Kevin. Nice to see you. Martha says, I love creating videos and writing as well. Very nice. Madeline from Stockholm, very nice. Grateful for this day spent with my son, my focus on my health, very cool. Kim, hi Jairek from Belfast, I'm a supporter, very nice. Jacob Heller, nice to see you. Georgina, the creator, the mechanic, the star supporter, the deal maker, the trader, accumulator, and the Lord. There you go. So here's all 8. There's a creator, a mechanic, and I'll run through real quick just so you can hear the different personality types and what their strengths are. So number 1 is a creator. They create new things. Think of like Albert Einstein in his laboratory. He's there just like working on stuff, tinkering with things all day long, trying to create something that's never been created. Number 2, a mechanic. This is someone like a Henry Ford, someone who takes something that's great and figures out systems and processes to optimize it. They're constantly trying to optimize, is the key word, whatever's already there. They're not necessarily creating it from scratch, but they're optimizing the process of it. Next up, a star. We talked about them. They illuminate life. They illuminate certain things in people, which amazingly, brings more eyeballs and connection to it. Next up, the supporter. They support. So if you go back to that Albert Einstein in his laboratory, or Da Vinci in the laboratory, you have the supporter, the person who's standing by, who is ready whenever you need them. They can support you. They can fill in the gaps. They can help you do stuff. They can help you get stuff done. And then if you don't need them, they just kind of stand back and wait. And, they're just there. And they love to support. They love to fill in the gaps. They love to be part of making the process happen by filling in the gaps. Next up, deal maker. Obviously, it is what it sounds like. There's someone who's constantly making deals. They want to negotiate. They always want to get the best deal. It's pretty amazing. We have an awesome guest coming up on JRC TV who was the head negotiator for the FBI on hostage negotiation. So he has a great book we just read on negotiation itself, and he shares a handful of tips on how to negotiate better for that opportunity. So deal maker. Finally, a trader. These people are, if you've ever been over traveling throughout the world and the markets in Thailand, in the Middle East, in Asia, where there's kind of these markets going on, there's lots of people trading back and forth, bartering, where it's like, I'll give you this, but I want one of these, and I want 2 of those for 1 of these. And you're trading constantly. You're trading things, meaning you're always trying to find the best value to buy and the highest value to sell. That concept. You're always trading things back and forth. Next up, you have the accumulator. This is kind of like a Warren Buffett, someone to buy and hold and always wants to accumulate and constantly grow what it is you're doing. And then the final, the Lord. And the Lord is kind of the behind-the-scenes person. You can think of Oz in The Wizard of Oz. Like they're behind the curtain and they're making all the magic happen without you realizing they're there. And they're very detail-oriented, watching the numbers, watching the metrics, watching everything going on. And they're organizing everything without you realizing they're there. And they're usually in the background. So I don't know what you feel you fall into. Let's see. Martha says, I believe I'm a star and a supporter. Very nice. Madeline says, I'm a creator, star, and supporter. Very nice. Let's see. Olivia says, I'm a star. I love illuminating. Very cool. So here's what's interesting. Something like this, because there's lots of tests like this. There's the standard deep psychological personality test you could take. There's a DISC assessment that we use as well. There's this, entrepreneurial type personality type assessment. There's, I forget what it's called, but there's the green, yellow, red, blue test you could take, and that's an interesting one. So there's all kinds of tests you could take to better understand yourself. But here's the main point. There's also, something we talk about in Performance Coach University. There's stages of life. Meaning if you're 18 or 0 to 18 years old, your number one focus, no matter if you're a star or if you're a creator or if you're an accumulator or whatever, your number one focus from 0 to 18 is usually yourself. That's it. Or maybe a job if you start early. But, if you go from 18 to 30, usually the biggest focus of your life, 18 to 30, is generally working, period. Doesn't matter what your personality type is. And so these are really interesting things, is when you start to cross-section all these things. You start to cross-section, oh, interesting, I'm a high I, and I'm also a star, and I'm also at this stage of life. I'm between my 18 or 30 to 45 years old, and there's certain qualities and traits and focuses that generally happen in this stage of life. And here's my greatest strengths at this moment of my life. Here's my greatest weaknesses at this moment of life. These are things we call self-awareness. And the more you're able to kind of understand these things, it's not about a label. You got to remember that. Because the other thing that happens, and my wife likes to, Lori says, I'm an accumulator and a supporter. Very nice. My wife likes to kind of like pop people on the head, because sometimes what happens when we talk about this stuff, people are like, oh, that person right there, they're a red eye supporter, something else. And we just throw labels at people instead of actually getting to know who they are. So it's not to just label random people and put them in boxes as much as it is say, listen, if I'm going to communicate with this person, what filters can I use and how fast can I adjust through all these filters to get to a point where I go, oh my gosh, for me to be effectively communicating with them, let me talk in their language, which is something we talk about in PCU. How do you speak the language of your team? If they are a certain personality type, you want to speak the language of that personality type. Otherwise, what's happening is you're speaking in your language and they're hearing in a totally different language. The example I always love to use, and we actually do a free online training with this in it, is I say, let's say you go to France and all you want to do is get to the Eiffel Tower, and near the Eiffel Tower, you want to get a crepe with bananas and Nutella in it. And, oh man, that's all you want. And you get off the plane and you walk outside and you speak German. Now, because European people are amazing, there's a small chance someone might also speak German and go, oh, Spectre de Joits, right this way, and take you there to get it. Or there's also a slight chance, because you're in France, that people just stare at you funny and they're like, hey, we speak French here, pal. Why are you speaking German? Now, this would make all the sense in the world in that case, because if all you're trying to do is get to the Eiffel Tower and you're speaking German the whole time, no one speaks German, it's going to be really difficult to get there. It's going to be difficult to ask for directions. It's going to be difficult to ask for a taxi. It's going to be difficult to figure out which way to go, especially if you can't read French or speak French. Versus if you spoke a little bit of French and you get off that plane and you start talking to people and you say, hey, où est la Tour Eiffel? Now, that's a horrible French accent there, but, where's the Eiffel Tower? Someone goes, oh, it's right over there. You're like, okay, great. And you start going. And so what's fascinating, as simple as this concept is, when you can understand how to speak their language, because you can understand generally where they fall into in all these different categories, all of a sudden it's like speaking the same language, French to French or German to German or English to English or whatever, because all of a sudden it makes sense. They can understand what you're saying and you can speak in a way that they get, and you can listen back in a way that you understand as well. Let's see. Fred said, this is interesting. Different stages of our focus, different. That's so true. It is very true. And so this concept of combining all this together, that's where the power is. So where do I use this? I use this in one-on-one coaching and performance coaching, because we talk with entrepreneurs and we talk with executives. And so often you see people in the company butting heads. And so often the only reason they're butting heads is because this person's in a 45 to 50-year-old stage of life. They're a high driver in business. They're very entrepreneurial, meaning they love freedom and flexibility, and they want to be able to create because they're a creator. And they're speaking to someone who is a high, C for compliance. They want to make sure they're absolutely correct all the time and go very slow through projects. This is a fast-paced, task-oriented person. This is a slow-paced, task-oriented person. So this person goes to them and says, hey, we need this done by Monday. And they go, oh my gosh, you didn't give me enough time to prepare and organize my documents and make sure everything's set up properly and make sure that it's correct. And they go, who cares? Just get it done. And they go, I can't. And all of a sudden they're butting heads, because those two things don't match up. Now, if this person's 45 years old and this person's, let's say 25 years old, they have totally different value hierarchies at that moment and stage of life. Now, possibly they could be the same, but for most people, when you're 45 years old, you value something totally different than when you're 25 years old. Tell me if I'm wrong. If you think I'm right about this in the comment section, let me know. Let me just ask real quick. When you were 25 years old, were certain things that you felt were extremely important in your life, like you had to focus on them, you had to work on these certain things, Are they a little different when you're 45? Now, I'm not 45 yet, but I can only assume for those of you who've made it that far in life, you look back at yourself at 25 and go, wow, I was an interesting character. I had some really interesting values at that moment of my life. Certain things I was focused on, certain things I was doing, certain things I was avoiding. It's like, oh, I was an interesting character. Now, just knowing that, let's see. Georgina says, I'm only 22, but there's a big difference even between when I was 18 and 20. Absolutely. That's the other way to look at it. If you're, let's say you're 22 or 25 years old, do you value different things now than when you were 16 or 18 or 15? I remember when I was 15, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to die if I don't get to the basketball court on time every day at lunch break. And then by, 1920, I think hormones kicked in and I'm like, women, I didn't care about basketball. As long as I could chase a girl somewhere, I was excited about life. And it seems silly, but things change. And so Chris says, you're right. My value is completely different. Georgia says dramatic. So here's what you got to realize. This is what's happening when people are going through different stages and ages of life, as well as personality types, as well as values, as well as beliefs, as well as organizing principles. So there's all kinds of books. I have one up here called Managing Millennials and all this other stuff. And I think one of the biggest factors people are missing is the fact that they're not understanding stuff like this. They're not understanding the fundamentals of what specific things to look for in people so that you can actually identify who they are, what stage of life they're at, what they value, what they believe, what's important, and how best you can communicate with them in a way that they can hear you because you're speaking in their language. Olivia says, yes, my values are so different. Lori says, definitely. Some things are much easier now because of technology. I'm 42. Exactly. And, there's certain things when you're 22 or 18 that now that you're 22 or 25 or 42, you look back and go, yeah, it's not as important as I thought. I was freaking out about that. Now that I'm here, yeah, it's okay, but it's not going to make or break my life like I thought it was going to. I remember times in life where it's like, if I don't get into this class, I might not ever have my dream life come true. You start laughing because you get there, you're like, well, that class was okay. It's useful, but it certainly didn't make or break the process. So interesting. Let's see. Katie, nice to see you. Madeline says, yes, it's so right, Jairek. I feel so much more gratitude in life today, and I don't think things for granted. Absolutely. So the other thing, what other things change your whole values hierarchy and perspective? Having a child absolutely changes the whole value hierarchy. Not for everybody, but for most people. Because all of a sudden, certain things you put up here, all of a sudden, even though you still value them, something else becomes more important and they drop down the hierarchy, meaning you still value them. It's just there's a little being that's more important than having that budget for shopping or taking that extra trip or, doing something else. And it's like, no, taking care of them is more important. And that kind of gets knocked down the hierarchy tree. So those are other things that happen. Major life events, or they called significant emotional events, reshape people's beliefs and values about life. So with all this going on, today we're talking about self-awareness. So you do have the ability where you sit down and you say, who the heck am I? Who's this guy right here or this lady or man watching? And take time to read the books, whether it's Emotional Intelligence or Strength Finder, or it's, going and taking Roger Hamilton's test called Wealth Dynamics, or it's learning, your 6 human needs, whether it's learning how to, write down your values. We talk about in our book, Live It, writing down your core values, what's most important to you in life, and figuring out which order they're actually in based on what you say up here, but how you actually live your life. Because a lot of people say, I value giving and being a good person and all this other stuff. And then you look at their schedule and their schedule does not reflect that. The most valuable resource they have, their time, does not reflect what they tell themselves is most important in their life. And so, one chapter in our book helps you to figure out how to align the two and make sure they actually go well together, which is really important. Fred says, would it also be affected by our health and experiences? Absolutely. Another great factor. So here's what's wild. Even if someone knows themselves, there's a difference between your best self, your average self, and a real crap version of yourself. And that's just honest. because as your best self, you might be loving and caring and friendly and optimistic. As your worst self, what qualifies? You didn't sleep, you didn't eat, you're hangry, and you didn't get a workout in, and you're exhausted and stressed out. That causes most people to become their worst self. Now, as your worst self, you might not be so loving, and you might not be so helpful, and you might not be so freaking optimistic. So going along with self-awareness, that's a really important thing to know. What helps you to be your best self, and what causes you to drop down to an average, if not below average or shit version of yourself. That's a really good thing to become self-aware of. Fred, great tip there. Madeline says, also going through a divorce and being a single mom makes me so much stronger, and I feel grateful for all the things I've been going through because everything happens for a reason. It absolutely does. And again, Madeline, that would qualify, so great insight there, that would qualify as a significant emotional event, which according to developmental psychologists, they believe past the age of 17 years old, the only thing that reshapes our values or beliefs are significant emotional events. Now, what qualifies as a significant emotional event? A marriage, a divorce, having a child, losing a loved one, anything that jars you emotionally and creates a significant emotional response or reaction in your body. So something that breaks your heart and makes you cry your eyes out for 4 days straight. Something that makes you feel so alive and so grateful that it makes you euphoric, and all of a sudden it's a significant emotional event. Something that stirs up so much pain and so much hurt and so much frustration in your mind and body that you can't even think straight for a week. Stuff like this, getting in a major accident, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual accident. Any of these things become significant emotional events where, let's say there's a threshold bar here. Most events, you have emotional spikes where it comes up and down, up and down. So a significant emotional event is something that would cross that threshold and become significant, meaning it hit you emotionally so deep that it'll create a lasting impact or mark on your life, and therefore it is significant. Since it's now significant, it might shape your new belief system. So when something like that happens, many times we start to say, well, that means, and we create a meaning or a new belief about life overall. Pretty simple stuff, but very useful. So these are all things that help with awareness. Circling it back to a localized story that happened to my wife and I, as I was talking about in the beginning of this, we were sitting down doing 2.5 hours of planning out the year and projects and books and retreats and all kinds of stuff we're working on. As we were doing all of that, one thing that was really interesting that came up, and it was a little bit of a sore spot, which is I took the next, Friday and Saturday this week, and I said, hey, I'm going to block it out to work on our project. We're in partnership with Udemy, which is a program we're creating for professionals on maximizing personal and professional performance. And there's a whole lot of contributors we're tracking down to come ask them to be a part of this program. It's going to be an absolutely phenomenal program, and our goal is to reach millions of people with it. So I'm going to take these 2 days to really just vet out the material and map out and figure out where the gaps are. And I leaned over, and Amanda, my wife, said, how best can I support you on that day? What can I do to help? And I said, well, really, truly, I'd love if you were a supporter. And she thought about it, and she goes, what does that mean? And I said, well, that means what I really need is, and I was trying to express what I need, which is a good thing. And I said, what I really need is someone who's kind of on call, meaning, I might need help doing some research. I might need help pulling up a different perspective on something. I might need help pulling up some, snippets of science or information to add into different parts, but I don't know what I need right now, and it'll literally be an in-the-moment process. And we might get to that part, and I might not need any help whatsoever. Or I might get there and need a ton of help, or I might need a ton of help and then decide not to use it. And so I'll tell you something interesting. We figured this out a while ago, which is really fascinating. We figured out my wife, and before we took the test, she guessed, we said, who do we think we are? And everyone had always told me I'm a star because I speak on stage, I do stuff like this, and they were always like, oh, you're a star, you're definitely a star because you have those qualities. And so I believed it. And then people, my wife, she's so supportive as a human being. She's incredibly supportive. She's the person that it doesn't matter what it is, how hard it is, how crazy it is, how challenging it is. If there's a hand needed, she will drop everything and say, how can I help? Let's go. And she will make it happen. So she's incredibly supportive as a human being. And if she doesn't know how to help, she'll find a way to help. She'll create a way to help. She will find a way to deliver for you, which is an amazing trait as a human being. And we always assumed because of that, she was a supporter. Well, we were dead wrong. When we took the little test by Roger Hamilton, what's happening is I'm actually a creator as my number one lead, and then I'm also a star, and I think mechanic as my secondaries, but she is a star as her number one, and then a supporter, and I believe a little bit of a creator as her secondary. So what's wild, we figured out through this test that we were actually playing to our secondary strengths a lot of the time and not to our primary strengths. And I was like, holy mackerel, what an insight for self-awareness. Because what we were choosing to do with our time and how we were organizing ourselves within our own businesses was our secondary strengths, meaning we can do it, we're willing to do it, but it's not our nature to continuously do it effortlessly, meaning it takes a lot of effort for us to do that secondary strength consistently. It takes a lot of force, a lot of push, a lot of energy, versus when you're playing to your primary strength, it's effortless. You can do it all day long. Doesn't even feel like work. I mean, it feels like you're just kind of like coasting or floating effortlessly through life. And you're doing a lot of work. You're being very productive. You're being very creative. You're just living true to your natural talents and strengths, which is fantastic. Josh says, Josh, thank you, sir. Wealth Dynamics is powerful. Thanks for sharing that. So welcome. I'm glad you learned it and are able to use it with your clients. P.S. If you're looking for an amazing performance coach, check out the comments. There's a guy named Josh. I think it's Goffier. I hope I'm not mispronouncing it, Josh. But Josh, he's an awesome graduate of our Performance Coach University program. Highly recommend him, especially those of you in Los Angeles looking for a badass coach. Anyways, so the concept of wealth dynamics allowed us to realize, wow, we're playing to our secondary strengths instead of our primary strengths. Interesting. So what we started to do was slowly adjust how we were going about our business. And there's three things you're looking for. Close enough. Sorry, Josh. Sorry for butchering that. So there's three things you're really looking for. If it's your strength, secondary or primary, can you do the job? Yeah, you can do it. Second, it's part of the pyramid. Are you willing to do it? Most of the time you're willing to do it because you're good at it. It's your secondary strength. And then the third part of the pyramid that creates a triangle here is it your nature? Do you naturally do it? Are you naturally, effortlessly gifted at it? Like it doesn't even feel like effort or work whatsoever. You just do it and it feels easy and effortlessness, just pure flow. And so when you can get there, it's usually because of your primary that makes you feel that way. So what happened was, going back to the story, Amanda was trying to step in and be a supporter. And what I've realized, because her personality is a primary star, that is not a good position to put her in, because the best use of her talent on the team is as a star, illuminating light on the projects we're working on, illuminating energy towards the things that the world should see or the projects we're working on. That's why she's amazing when she jumps on Facebook Live. She's incredible when you put her in front of a group of people. She's wildly intelligent on marketing and business innovation and creativity and strategy when you put her with groups of people. She's incredible at guiding groups of people to get major things done. It's really remarkable to watch. I'm not good at those things. And I'm really talented at just creating stuff all day long. And it's literally interesting when you put those dynamics together. Because she's so supportive as a human being, she's willing to play to her secondary strengths only to support me. And so what we found out as a team is the best way we can do this is have both of us play to our strengths and find someone else to fill in the supporter role, which we've done. We hired a whole group, which is an amazing team. Romaine and our team there that take care of all the other supporter projects and roles and demands within our team and business. And so I thought this would be useful for you out there in the Facebook world. Hopefully it is for those of you who decided to tune in today. If you think this is useful, a couple notes of things you might want to check out. Number one, you might want to go to wealthdynamics.com if you want to check out the test I'm referring to. Joel, nice to see you. Number two, if you're trying to figure out what's most important to you in life, you might want to grab a copy of our book, Live It. It's a great resource, something that you can help vet through your current values as well as your current appropriation of time to figure out if it's really aligned for you. Number three, you might want to check out our Performance Coach University program, something where we go through all the different topics we talked about today, and we go through them in depth and how to use them specifically with clients in performance coaching. So how to use, values and beliefs, how to understand what their personality type is, how to use multiple different types of personality assessments with your client and help them better understand themselves and then better perform at their best, all kinds of stuff. So something worth checking out. Paul says, thanks for the talk. You're so welcome, sir. Also, there's another little thing we put together that we're so proud of and so excited of for people who are looking to grow their business, find their life purpose, make sure you die with no regrets. We put together this awesome 8-part e-series. And if you go to, I believe it's performancecoachuniversity.com/purpose in lowercase letters. So performancecoachuniversity.com/purpose. It's a way to jump on and grab this 8-part series my wife and I just created. It's really awesome. It even has a 1-hour long online training, kind of like this, specifically talking about 3 performance-based tools you can use with your team, with your company to maximize personal and professional performance, as well as sharing a little bit more about PCU. So again, one more time, if you want to check it out, performancecoachuniversity.com/purpose, all lowercase. So, and here's what I'll do. We're going to take our puppy to the puppy park for a little bit when the sun is setting right now. It's a beautiful time here in Tampa. Let's see. If you have any questions on the topic, I'm going to take the next 3 minutes and answer them. So let's see. Any questions? And thanks for all the love with all those thumbs up coming through. Appreciate it. Any questions on these topics? And thank you for those who participated. It's always super helpful and useful to get other perspectives. Any questions? I'm not seeing any come through. So let's see. We're going to surprise somebody. Let's see. Very funny. Let's see. Fred says, great information. I'll review it again. A lot of great topics. Fred, you know what? We see you all the time, and we're grateful for all your participation. If you would like, I don't know if you already have a copy, but we'll say you are the winner today of a signed copy of either Spanish or English version of Live It. Just DM me your address, and we will send you a copy. If you already have one, we have a few other extra awesome books downstairs, but DM me. Let me know your address, and then let me know if you already have one. If you don't, we'll send you a signed copy. If you do, we will send you another awesome book we have in our pile of awesomeness downstairs. So congratulations, and thank you for always participating so much. I really appreciate all the time and effort. And everyone else, we just choose randomly. Madeline says, can you please write the webpage down? Absolutely. Georgina, thank you. So Fred, if you would, DM me your information, and we'll go ahead and send you one. Georgina, stay tuned tomorrow. We always appreciate you as well, and everyone else, Madeline and everyone else who tunes in. So thank you. I'm so honored. No problem. Well, thank you for participating so much. So thank you. Have a wonderful evening. Fred, please DM me your information. We will send that out. Josh, thank you so much, sir, and we will see you all tomorrow. P.S. If you found this useful, click the share button and tell someone what they might learn if they decide to tune in. Okay, I'm out for the day. I'm going to sign out from here. Hope